I see it's back. We'll see if we get more it's backs.
Any way to know what happened?
Nope.
Okay.
No way to know.
Okay. Okay. So,
I see another we back. I think we're back.
okay, great. We're back. Okay. So sometimes Jonah, I'll try and go fast. Sometimes Jonah is doing things for me as an employee. Sometimes Jonah is doing things that he wants to do that I don't think matters and I didn't ask him to do. Sometimes Jonah and I are on the same page about doing something, and sometimes Fantasy Flight slash Asmodee disagrees with us, right? And so it gets really murky about when am I doing the things that are work related, but I just can't live with myself if they don't happen, right? Jonah has this happen frequently, in fact, where he's like, I'm like, Jonah, our contract didn't include that. To which Jonah's like, I don't care, Tim. It needs to happen. It's important, and the judges are counting on us. To which I'm like, never mind what I'm like. And then most of the time, Jonah and I go ahead and do it anyway because we think it's important. If you have a relationship with a store, or even if you don't, and you decide to do things that the store didn't ask you to do, then it gets really sticky. So what do you do in that situation, Jonah?
uh, I shove it under a carpet and do the things that I was going to do. Because a player can advertise an event. A player can absolutely just go on their Facebook page and be like, hey, everybody should sign up for this event. The more people we get to this planetary qualifier, to this 1K or 2K, the more the store is going to want to support the game. And that means I get to keep on playing. It's for my own motivation. As a judge, I want the game to be successful as well at my local store because that means I get to keep playing the game.
And that's perfectly fine. However, there's a red flag there, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you start doing, okay, from everybody should know where their own personal line is. Actually, we should have a lesson on this that includes a quiz that's a forcing mechanism to get everybody to develop their own line on it. Because everybody's line is different, right? Some people would say, I know judges who say things like, I won't do anything other than day of the event,
Yep.
right? Nothing at all, period.
Yep.
That is a completely defensible point of view.
Very
It's not
reasonable.
not my personal point of view, but but it's reasonable. There are also people, I know a judge who every event he went to, he brought backup of literally everything for the event, offsite event, including backup product, because he just couldn't live with having an event that didn't have all of the things that he needed to do. I think that's excessive, but you know what? Nobody asked him to do it. And so how do you know it's work? Well, if somebody in a position of authority asks you to do it, then the answer is, I'd love to. What is the compensation for this? Right?
Yep.
But if they don't see the need, right? If the local store hasn't figured out that Facebook is a reasonable place to hype their events, okay, which frankly a lot of them haven't yet, they're a little slow. Then
Discord's now the place to be. Facebook is old now.
well, sure, yeah. Actually, I don't. Honestly, I stopped on Facebook a long time ago because Facebook kind of sucks. But um, but if the TO asks, or the representative asks you to do the job, then you should be paid for it. If you decide you can't live without that job happening, and the TO doesn't think it's a reasonable thing to do, the first time I just do it. The second time I have a conversation with the TO about, hey, did you notice we got 30% more people than we expected? And that's a conversation about, and that's because I did X. hey, maybe you want to hire me to do that next time.
Now, so far we've mostly been talking about larger scale events like planetary qualifiers. What if you are at your local game store for weekly play? You've not been
Now
asked to judge.
this is sticky as heck.
Oh
Keep going.
yeah, this
Sorry.
is why I'm asking you and not letting you ask me. Uh, and somebody just raises their hand and calls for a judge. There isn't a judge on staff, but you're in between matches.
And I'm at a store. Let's make it really messy. I'm at a store I go to all the time. I'm friends with them.
Yeah,
And let's say I'm an L2 judge, or as soon as they're available, there's an L3. So I know I'm one of the best, if not the best judge, at least as measured by rules. It's not the only way to measure judges. I just want to throw that out. Customer service, customer service, customer service. But at least as far as passing tests, I'm the best judge in Montana. Hi, Sean. So what happens? And for me, the answer is I answer the judge call. I stand up. I say to the people, the players, hey guys, I want you to know I'm not your judge today, but I am an L2 judge. And it looks like the store would like me to help, assuming the store would like me to help, right?
yeah, nobody's answering.
Well, actually, what I would do is first I'd ask the stores, hey guys, do you want me to cover this one?
Yeah,
Because stepping in where I'm not invited is not a good idea, right?
stepping on the store owner's toes when they're like, "Well, I was gonna help." Oh boy, that's a way to get somebody upset with you.
Yes. So first, figure out if they want the help. Helping people who don't want help is not help, right?
Correct.
And I know that sounds so obvious, and I know that's so obvious, right? And yet, I meddle in other people's lives all the time, and I'm betting most of you do too. Okay, so first, make sure make sure there's a need, and then second, I go over and solve it. I'm not
Yeah.
telling you should. You've got to make your own determination. But if nobody asked me to solve, if the employer didn't ask me to solve the problem, then in this second, it's not on me, or I'm sorry, it's not on them. It's on me if I want to, if I choose to accept that. And then at the end of the tournament, assuming, by the way, you've got to make sure to do this with quite a bit of discretion, because if I'm playing in the event, it's super sticky, right?
Yes.
And I'll let Jonah talk about how to avoid that problem, because frankly, I'm not even sure. I mean, I know some of the things, but yeah, so avoid conflicts of interest, blah, blah, blah. Jonah, you'll take over it in a second. But at the end of the day, I then go over to the TO, and I'm like, hey, Bob, from Bob's House of Comics, I'm super happy to help out today because I love your store and I love this game. That's Bob's opportunity to say to me, hey, Tim, I'm glad you pitched in, and here's an ice cream cone or
A weekly play pack.
or whatever it is, right? And whatever it is, I'm happy that I got, because after all, I didn't ask for anything in advance. We don't have a contract, not even an implied one. Why? Because there's no offer. They didn't say, please help out. I decided on my own. And if I decided on my own not to participate, that's cool too. There is nothing about this program that's ever going to tell you to work for free. Work based on your values. Okay?
Can I make the situation stickier?
No, it's already a mess. Go ahead.
Instead of them raising their hand and calling for a judge, they know you've judged showdowns and pre-releases, so they call you by name. The player does.
And here's the thing. And let's say in my answer is super easy. I just handle it, right?
Yeah.
But if I'm the judge who doesn't, in life, there are people who have rigid, very firm boundaries. I get it. I even respect it sometimes. I'm not one of those people. I have very fluid, flexible boundaries. And, Maybe I can justify that, maybe I can't. But you've got to know yourself well enough to know. And so just take a minute and know this is going to happen to you as a judge. It just will.
Constantly.
It just will, right? I
I've
mean,
I've had people. I mean, this is happening more with my role in this judge program. But I've had people like after the Monday after sectors or the Monday after galactic, somebody's like, "Hey, can I ask you a judge question?" I'm like, "I'm trying to eat a croissant right now, but sure. What do you got for me? Because I don't have boundaries."
so mm, Jonah's compensation changing to one Tide Pod. Okay, actually, can't do that because that might kill you. Okay, so know your own line first. You've got to have made up a decision. If you haven't, if you're, I can't tell you what the right answer, but I can tell you the wrong answer. The wrong answer is, well, maybe I might help kind of, sort of, but I'm uncomfortable, blah, blah, blah. If you go over and deliver a ruling that you're not sure you want to deliver, you will deliver a shitty ruling. Because even if you're right, the people you're talking to will have no confidence in you. So figure out what your line is. And if your line is, hey guys, I've got a pretty hard line where if I'm playing, I just want to avoid the conflict of being a judge, so I don't answer judge calls.
I do want
Say
to
that.
quickly
Go ahead.
address a quick question that came up from Kinjabber, saying that they had to intervene in PQ once because a judge was giving an incorrect ruling regarding a case, clarified in CR by interrupting your own match. So, being like, hey, if you overhear a judge call and it is incorrect, and you're like, hey, judge, I think I believe you said something incorrectly. You may have misunderstood what they are saying, what the CR says, something along those lines. You are not acting as a judge. You're a player. You're a spectator who heard something wrong. Nobody, as Tim has been saying, nobody has asked you to do this. You can absolutely be like, hey, judge, can I talk to you away from the match real quick? I had a quick question about that call that you're taking. One, away from the table so you don't undermine their authority, and two, so you don't embarrass yourself if you're wrong. But if they accept your help, again, help that is not wanted is harmful. You can be like, hey, since I took a minute away from my match, can you give us a minute time extension? And most judges should be like, yes, absolutely. Thank you for making sure I was correct. And I'm going to make sure that you and your opponent aren't undermined and lose your ruling.
Yeah.
You shouldn't. The line with regards, like, don't interrupt a judge, but you should feel comfortable to ask questions politely. Don't be like, judge, you're wrong, you need to give a different ruling, but be like, hey, judge, before you finish your ruling, can I talk to you away from the table? These are two very different approaches.
So let's step back for a second. The crucial thing underneath what we're saying, which I guess I should have started with first, is know your role. Okay. And it's super gray.
Oh,
It's
yes.
super gray. But know your role and know yourself. If you're the TO, you're the TO. If you're a judge, you're not the TO, you're a judge, except when you're both. If you're a player, you're not the TO and you're not a judge, except. Okay. So let's start out with, except if it's super cash, right? So know your role. And then part of that is, if your role is either tournament organizer, judge, scorekeeper, any of the officials, registration, lackey, whatever you're doing, right? You've got to understand your role and what's appropriate in it. And part of your role is understanding when it's appropriate to intervene and play. And my rule is never make the judge lose face, especially if they're brand new, especially if they're bad, right? They're just starting out, they're leveling up, but you know what? I want to help. My role as a TO, or long ago for a couple games for only a few minutes, I faked being a judge. But your job is to support the judges. Take it away, Jonah.
Um, I mean, I think that's pretty on point. You
Okay.
were going to ask me about remaining unbiased in taking calls that you are
Actually,
participating in.
let's do that afterwards. Okay. So you know what your boundaries are,
Yes.
and then and you can assert your boundary to whatever degree you can do that professionally. If you can't assert a professional boundary, you need to go practice, really. And Jonah, since you're sneezing, I'll try and get you. Give me an example of asserting a professional boundary,
Oh,
and then I'll do it poorly. Okay.
I mean, when somebody asks me the morning after an event if they can ask a question about the event and I'm trying to eat breakfast, and then I say, "Yeah, that's fine. Hit me." That's a boundary, right?
No, that is not a boundary. And also, when I want to use the restroom and somebody has a question about the event, following me into the restroom and ask, never follow anyone into a restroom ever, anywhere, ever. Just don't. Okay. So, how to assert a professional boundary is to first acknowledge their ask. And, Bob, I get why this seems like this would be a good time, or I get why this seems like a reasonable question. But as a judge, I'm a stickler for rules, and part of that's my own boundaries. And so when I'm not on the clock, I just can't handle this kind of thing. Otherwise, I find my life just gets too messy.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to acknowledge their question. You want to tell them that it's reasonable, even if it's not. And then you want to assert the boundary. And then I like to do a little softener because boundaries create distance between people. And so I like to do a softener, but that's entirely up to you. And for me, the softener frequently looks like, but it looks like I'm helping you on Thursday. Why don't I clock in 30 minutes early and I'll help you with figuring out how to use Melee or whatever it is, right?
A lot of my boundaries are I'm not available for that now. Here's the circumstances under which I'm comfortable doing whatever that task is. Something that I get a lot of messages on Discord. In fact, I have at least 10 of them right now and 15 emails that I didn't answer over the course of the weekend because it was the weekend and I wasn't working. And most folks seem to understand business hours. Other folks,
They don't.
um,
Not so much.
another example that shows up very frequently is some judges are like, "Hey, I'm happy to mentor you, but I don't want to mentor you during my downtime and relaxation time. However, shoot me a message while I'm traveling to an event, or like at the event we can grab dinner. When I am traveling to an event or am at an event, I'm in judge space. When I'm at home, I'm not in judge space." And that's a boundary that a lot of other folks have as well.
And Gentle Giant said this really well. I want to modify it slightly, but you also need to practice saying, I'm not judging today. Please ask the person who is. But, and Gentle Giant does as a hypothetical. So and please ask Bob, who's your head judge or your floor judge or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Redirecting them is always a great idea. Try and use the judge's name if you can. And also, before the tournament, introducing yourself to the judge is a really good idea, especially when you are level 3, 4, or 5, and there's a brand new apprentice. Hey, I just want you to know I'm Tim and I'm going to be playing in the tournament. I also happen to be a judge. And so afterwards, if there's any feedback that I can give you to help you grow, just let me know. Or if there's anything I can support you, let me know. But today I'm going to be playing, not judging. Right?
Yes, absolutely. Or like this is tangential to this compensation, whether you're working or not. But drawing boundaries with regards to your role. Um, Often, as you advance through the program, you're going to be mentoring somebody and supporting somebody, and so somebody else will be head judge who is your student, your mentee. They are distinctly less experienced than you. In fact, they might be new, and players who come to, say, your local planetary qualifier know that you are the head judge because you've been the head judge for the last 17 planetary qualifiers in this store. And so they say, what's the answer? And you say, I'm not the head judge. My mentee is the head judge. Please ask them that question. Or you can't appeal their ruling to me. You can appeal my ruling to them. Drawing those boundaries, very important.
Gentle Giant, I'm sure I'm nicer than you are when it's a hypothetical. I'm not at all sure in real life. But so, and as a tip for people who are tournament organizers, if you're the tournament organizer and not a judge, if I'm the TO, my answer is when somebody comes to me and says, your head judge is wrong. And I explain to them, for the purposes of this tournament today, I do not care what the rules say. I do not care what anything you divvy up. I don't care what anybody else has done everywhere. My head judge is perfect for our purposes today. And if my head judge tells you that green is red and orange is purple, okay, then they're right for our purposes today. After the tournament is over, I am happy to have that discussion with you, and maybe there's a customer service issue that I need to address, but for the purpose of the tournament, I hired this person. They were the best person I had. There's a reason I hired them, and even if I think they're making the wrong decision, I can't overrule them. They're my judge. That's the role. I'm the TO. I don't make judge calls. After talking, I immediately go have a conversation with the judge, and I'm like, hey, this is what happened. Please just double check. Right?
Is green purple?
Because it turns out that I don't want them to make incorrect rulings. And so we might have a customer service issue. But what I need to do is support my judges if I'm a TO. Period. Right?
Yeah.
And by the way, if you have a TO who is not supporting you, well, this gets back to boundaries, right? And one of the questions is, do they want to be the head judge? And maybe they do, and maybe they're qualified, right?
Maybe.
And maybe they don't, in which case, if they're interrupting and interfering, then having a polite conversation off to the side where no one else can hear, where we're clarifying roles, would be really appropriate.
Yeah.
It would be really nice if there was like TO training too. That'd be a cool thing.
That would be nice.
So then, Jonah, have you ever worked for free?
I don't believe I've worked for free. I have worked for crumbs, but never for free.
And here's the problem, okay? I'm a professional, okay? I am not willing to work. So I'm going to tell you where my line is, because hopefully it helps other people clarify their line, right? If somebody asks me to do something, if somebody asks me to do a thing, I clarify the compensation. If they're a personal, longtime friend of mine and they ask me to change the oil in their car, maybe I'll figure out how to do that. Okay, actually, I probably know how to do that. But I have no enthusiasm. But if they're a friend, maybe I help them out. And maybe we swap favors, right? Hey, will you do this for me if I do that? As friends. But if they're an employer who employs me from time to time, I really do want to get paid. Okay, now it's sticky. Let's do the real tough one. It's an event. I want to play in this event. It's got a $5 entry fee, and it's super casual. And I know that this store isn't making any money. And so it might even be losing money. They don't have the ability to hire a judge, right?
Not for $15 an hour for 4 hours.
Yeah, 5 hours maybe, right?
Probably not that long, but
Well, it depends, right? When the total entry fees are more than, excuse me, are substantially less than 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 what it costs to pay a person, what do you do? Well, for me, I'm okay personally. This is not legal advice,
yep.
but I have played in tournaments where they let me play for free, and then I pitched in a little bit, but a little bit doesn't mean I run. A little bit could be, yeah, I do the pairings, and if there's a question that I'm qualified for, which there are not very many of, I solve,
Right.
right?
Over the course of 3 hours, it's 5 minutes of work.
Maybe seven, in which case, okay, sure. Once, twice, if I really want to build the game, maybe, right? Some point, though, the reciprocity has to kick in. And, and I have to believe that this store is actually not going to be in that shape forever, right? It's no favor to help a business that needs to go out of business struggle for longer.
I'm just thinking about like some of the worst compensation I've accepted. Uh,
What is the lowest compensation you've accepted?
I mean, the lowest net. Uh, I worked effectively a planetary qualifier out in Vancouver, a 1 day show as a floor judge. Um, and compensation just about covered my flight from Boston to Vancouver.
Yeah, that sucks. But that's actually more on you
Oh,
than anything
yeah.
else because you didn't have to go to that event, right?
No, the tournament organizer did, when I submitted an application, say, "Did you mean to do this one or one on the East Coast?" And I'm like, "No, no, no. This is the one that I want to go to. I have a friend out there. I got to stay and have like a 2 week vacation. But for the event
But,
itself, oh boy.
but have you judged for a bag of chips and a soda?
I've definitely judged for take whatever snacks you need while you're judging.
That sucks.
But
And
those
sometimes,
that was often at my local game store where I was playing, and I had the option to play in those events if I wanted to. This was for a game other than Star Wars, um, but I just didn't have a deck for the format, and mostly I hung out and like chatted with my friends and had free snacks and answered some questions.
well, free snacks are very strong. So I think we've probably gone on enough length about this for people to help sort it out. But the answer is you got to figure this out for yourself in advance.
Yep.
You got to know where your personal lines are. My personal lines, if somebody's charging $50 a player and they have 120 players in the room, I'm I can do math too, right? And I know that that wasn't a bad day for them, and so I better be getting paid. And if somebody's doing the play in play in the tournament for free, come one, come all as a community builder, then maybe I'll pitch in, right? The other or exception to this is charity events. If
Oh
it's a
yeah.
bona fide charity, feel free to work for free, right?
Yes.
We do things we volunteer for charities. We get paid by employers, right?
Yeah. I think a big distinction for me for like where I expect crumbs versus some amount of more significant or noticeable compensation is whether or not the event is large enough for me to also feasibly play in it. So events like pre-releases that are over 20, 30 players, it's not reasonable for my opponents for me to play in that event. Judging and playing a larger event, even though it is potentially even more casual than weekly play, it is disruptive to the event as a whole, and so I should not be participating in that event. And so the expectation is I am working for the duration of that time. Whereas if I'm playing, most of the time I'm there, I'm playing, and so I feel like my effective work hours are much shorter.
Sorry, I was laughing at the the comments, but um, yeah, yes, and uh,
I
the
kind of want to talk about judge teams.
Mite Stone's comment, being a head judge for a tournament for free, and then had to do first aid, call an ambulance, but you got coffee. That better have been good coffee. Woo. I don't drink coffee, by the way. Only whiskey. That's the only beverage I drink. Okay, so yeah, know your lines in advance. Work it out. It is reasonable, in my opinion. However, my employment attorney is turning red at this
Oh
moment.
yeah.
Because I'm not telling you to work for free, right? I'm not. Know what you want. Know what you want and what your goals are. I mean, to a large degree, the community's sitting in the store and it's centered on the store. But sometimes I have my agenda for it that has nothing to do with the store's agenda. And then, then we have to work it out. Go ahead, Jonah.
It's also important when you're thinking about working for what you want, think about what is reasonable for others. When you work for, if you choose to work for a bag of chips, or if you choose to work for free entry, that means that you have now set a precedent for the next person and the rest of the community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I know that some judges, some judge communities are like, hey, this is what our expectation is for various tiers of play based on the number of players, the scale of the event. This is what, if you want to judge, this is what you should expect to pay. And that sort of communication and building each other up, I think, is very helpful. I also know that there's some judges who are like, yeah, if you want to run a planetary qualifier, an event like that, me and my 3 friends, we know everything you need to know. We have Melee loaded up on our laptops. We have the printer if you need a printer. We have a paper cutter. We have Sharpies. We have tape. We can show up and make your store have a great event. You need to supply the prizes and the tables and chairs. We'll supply table numbers. We'll supply pairings boards. We'll supply
We'll do it all.
And that's another way to go about it.
Okay. And yes, Tim is a weird person in Portland, but the thing is, I'm already, you can tell just from this podcast, I'm high energy and a little twitchy anyway. Nobody needs me on coffee. We just don't need that. So if you want to offer a service where you do the whole thing for people, that's great. And then you should be compensated more. But that just makes that compensation conversation even more important. And, and I've seen folks try to be the judge who is also the lieutenant tournament organizer. And I can tell you over the long term, that usually doesn't work out. Usually you either have to pop up and actually be the tournament organizer, which for this game really at this point means you need to be running a store. I have all kinds of hopes and dreams of that changing, but today that's it's not an absolute necessity, but it's pretty darn close, right? So okay, what else should we cover today, Jonah?
Well, there are a couple questions in chat for you. Do you drink water, or is it just whiskey?
I try and do turn my water into whiskey, but I have not been successful yet. No, I also will drink. In fact, at this very moment, Polar brand fizzy seltzer.
Are we getting a sponsorship for them? We are advertising for them, so we should get compensated.
So. Well, I used to drink Diet Coke, and this is completely story time, but I have to because I actually care about you guys. I do, and I gotta warn you. I was doing a lot of events. I was constantly on the road. I was tired a lot. I needed caffeine. I don't like coffee. So I started drinking Diet Coke. And then actually first start with Coke. And then I cut to Diet Coke for my health. And I just started drinking more and more of it. I got to the point where I was pounding 12 to 15 cans of Diet Coke a day. My weight ballooned. I almost hit 300 pounds. And I quit to fizzy water, and now I have done some other things, including, Ozempic to lose weight. And I got to tell you, I feel so much better. Please don't fuck up your health by going with the 12 to 15 Diet Coke a day, right thing. Just, I know that it's a gamer thing to have a jug of soda that's bigger than your head, but, and you can get away with it in your 30s, probably. But as your 40s and 50s come, it just doesn't fly anymore. So,
Yeah.
please.
Uh, okay, some other questions. Just a quick one that I'm going to answer real fast from Acefire RM. Tim, will you be at the Portland Sector qualifiers? I believe you want to show up.
I want to do a meetup there too.
I want to do a meetup there.
And you're coming too, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah.
That'll be great.
All right. This is a great question from 50 Minutes. How do you feel about stores offering compensation in the form of store credit? I feel.
Actually, hold on. First, before you tell me how you feel, let me talk to you about the law.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, varies from state to state, blah, 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 varies from country to country. In most cases, I see stores offer store credit for one of two reasons. One, they want to pay somebody under the table because that person is not legal to work in the United States. I distinctly don't want to know about that when that happens. Like, I don't hire anybody who's not legal to work in the United States if I'm doing an event in the United States. Okay. If I'm doing an event outside of the United States, thumbs up. And we have every reason to believe that over the next 4 years, 3.5, this is going to get much more legally problematic. I'm, again, not your attorney, but if you're the employer, don't do this. And if you're the employee, I know people who are ineligible to come back into the United States because they were planning on working for a product and then they tried to cross the border and they told customs and enforcement, yeah, I'm going to go work. Doesn't matter what follows after that sentence. And I'm not trying, just don't do it. Right now, the United States has gone insane about this. Just don't do it. Okay. The second case is store doesn't have enough money to pay me, but really wants to pay me, and they're trying to do the right thing. Okay. Technically, there's things like minimum wage laws in the United States. When I know one of my favorite stores went out of business because they had a couple people work under the table for product, and then one of them slipped and fell, broke their leg, went to the hospital, told the hospital, blah, 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 workers' comp gets triggered, and then the store gets fines and is finally put out of business. It's not a great idea. And you guys are judges. And so judges in general should be upholding the law. Now, take it away, Jonah.
I've definitely worked for store credit before. Very often, something I see is we'll pay you $100 or $125 in store credit, or $100 and $150 in store credit, or some ratio. And that offer is, if you get the choice, fantastic. You can take the money and that's handled properly and above board. But sometimes you and the store both know, as soon as you hand me money, I'm going to turn around and give it back to you and ask for cards or games or whatever. And I find that with the way that money works and store credit works, if they were to sell you a game at full retail, like, they can give you more store credit and you can spend that and have more spending power at their store, and it costs them less than or the same as if you had actually spent that amount. And so, like, it can be a win-win if you have that cash option.
You know,
Tim doesn't like any of that.
Deeply uncomfortable with all of this. What I can tell you is, okay, Judges politically are very frequently, not always, it's a diverse group of people, but are people who tend to be on the liberal progressive side and believe in law and especially labor law. And man, I'm all there with you. I really am. And then, but if you believe in labor law and if you believe in minimum wage law, then, then why are you getting paid under the table? Okay. And one of the things you need to do is reflect on why are you doing something that's not in keeping with your value system? And if it is in your value system, then you also have those legal issues, and you may be putting this store owner, this TO who you care about, possibly in some degree of legal liability, right? So I would encourage you to be really reluctant about anytime we're trading things. Now, the legal stuff gets really complicated. If you're truly an independent contractor, then under some circumstances you can trade. You know what? And we're not a legal podcast. Maybe at some point we'll bring a lawyer on to get into the details. Let me jump to the comments and be the really poopy person. In general, in order to work in the United States right now, you must be a citizen or have a work permit. There are times, if you don't have those things, you should assume you're not legal to work in the United States. If somebody says to you something where, oh, it's all fine, don't worry about it, then know that it's not all fine and you should worry about it. I'm not your lawyer and I'm not your conscience. But if people are finding clever alternative compensation schemes, hey, you're from Brazil, I'm going to pay you a bunch of product because I know you can sell it for more there. Maybe if you meet the independent contractor requirements, maybe, but in general, probably not. And if the employer paperwork in order to authorize you to work in the United States is long and cumbersome, if they haven't done that, and you would know they did it because it's specific to the person, then you're probably not legal to work in the U.S. Okay, there are a few exceptions. If large organizations, and I mean larger than most TOs, so if IBM arranges for you to work in the United States, they've probably done it right. Otherwise, you're in dangerous territory. Is that a fair way of putting it, Jonah?
Sure.
Dangerous territory.
Yeah. The French board gamer says in France, no judges are declared as workforce, and most of the time you get unlimited product or store credit. Very hard to change years of customs. Yes. I also know that my understanding, again, not a lawyer, international labor law is even further from me than U.S. labor law. So
you're basically just pulling this out of your fanny. Got
it. This is coming from a conversation that I had with a few store owners in Europe, in various countries. But I know that in some countries, or I've been told that in some countries, if you compensate somebody with monetarily directly, they fall under employment or count as workforce, and then you have to pay essentially a flat rate for them being a part of your workforce as part of your taxes to help cover for various costs. And so if you hire somebody for a day, you get a rate that costs you as much as if you had hired them for 365. And so stores avoid that dramatically because it's not cheap.
Yeah, it is just, we're not competent to give you advice in Europe, really. Europe, and for that matter, each country in the EU zone, well, so the EU zone is mostly standardized as I understand, but, if we start going afield and saying, what's going on in Ireland, well, Ireland's EU, Britain, or or Eastern Europe, even less knowledge. So let's just say in general, for major events, it's a no-brainer. You should get paid. As events get smaller and easier, at some point we actually even cross a line where we don't need a judge for the event. And maybe the judge wants to be there, but the store owner doesn't, right? And then it gets really sticky. But the takeaway is you've got to be a professional. You've got to have your own boundaries. And then you've got to be willing to say, you've got to be willing to assert your boundaries. But the trick is, as one of the people and said, practice this. You really do. Practice with another judge. So that way you can deliver it. Because the trick in life is to deliver they say an ambassador is somebody who can tell you to go to hell and make you look forward to the trip. So that's the the functional definition of diplomacy. You've got to be able to assert boundaries and not have it create hostility. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a tricky line to balance.
It takes practice, and you'll get better. You'll get better as you do it more. And there's so many people in life who don't want you to have boundaries, that want to just run all over your boundaries. And so you've got to have boundaries. You just do.
Yeah. Mightstone 12420 says this creates an issue for us Canadians being able to meet the expectation for level 3 that we participate in large events when we effectively can't get hired in the states where the events occur. This is as Wild Rick says, it's been a common problem for judges over the years. It has been. And right now,
yes,
hold
on. I just got to throw in absolutely 100%. This is a problem.
Yep.
Go ahead, John.
So this is something that I am very well aware of. Right now, there aren't explicit requirements for level 3 because I haven't written them yet. Participation in large events will likely be a requirement, but there may also... no, probably won't be, because the purpose of level 3 is head judging events up to between 65 and 128 players. And so requirements for a level generally should not be higher than the expectation for the level itself. So if there are events near you that necessitate the level, then you should be able to get the level. However, this is something that I've talked about a few times. The judge program is unfair. It is not going to be equitable. If you want to become the highest level, if you want to become a level 5 Star Wars Unlimited judge, and you live in some outside of the United States or Europe, that's not going to happen anytime soon. If you want to become a level 3 outside of United States, Canada, Australia, Europe, almost certainly not going to happen. There are total of 6 planetary qualifiers in Asia in a given wave. At least that's how it has been for the last couple of waves. I think there's been 1 in South Africa. Because of the distribution of events, it's really hard to get that experience. However,
and that sucks.
Yeah,
it does.
It sucks straight up. But changing the requirements to be regionalized results in worse, because then it's like, oh, you didn't have to do this thing, therefore you're not actually a real level 3. You're not a real level 4.
And there's enough of that nonsense in other judge programs already, right?
Oh, I mean, you're a Massachusetts L3, not a Portland L3.
And the reality that there were regional differences just makes it that much worse.
Yes.
Because the Portland L3 is rocked. But anyway.
Northeast was the best. Quiet and efficient. That was our motto. We had mottos. It was a problem. There was a lot of tribalism. And sometimes
your motto was silent but deadly?
Quiet and efficient.
I'm sorry. I must have gotten that wrong.
Um, I think that was us. That might have been the Mid Atlantic. Anyways, tribalism has its place, but it can also create a lot of problems, and we want to avoid those issues. Um, but I also want to develop a program that is accessible. This is so you know that thing that Tim was talking about earlier, where I'm like, I have this idea of something that I want to do that is not required for the judge for. This is something that I'm going to do. Um,
Notice my forehead turning red.
um, and one of the things that we have right now are requirements for levels, and I want to expand that from the minimum requirements, which are what we currently have, to the minimum requirements, the standard expectations, and an exceptional candidate. That way, for example, you'll look at, for example, level 2, which says you have to do 3 competitive events. Those will remain the minimum requirements. That is what you need to have done to be minimum expectation for level 2. Uh, I think for most level 2 judges, I think. Ooh, has the stream dropped again? Nope, looks like we're good. Um, for most level 2s, I think having 4 or 5, maybe even 6 competitive events, and having been a level 1 judge for a year, that's about what I would expect. Maybe even one destination event, a sectors, regionals, galactic championship, or something hosted by another tournament organizer. An exceptional candidate will have had a dozen planetary qualifiers, 3 sectors or regionals, uh, been on every team at a large event, and been head judge of some number of competitive events. And what exceptional candidate means is at this point, you almost certainly have the experience. It's just a question of do you have the knowledge? And creating these layered expectations should help in a way. And it's possible that, like, if you're an exceptional candidate, you don't need as much in the way of endorsements because you have an implicit endorsement of these people keep on hiring you to do the job. But that's something that's coming down the line, more communication about what is expected of certain levels.
Let me jump in on something in the comments. Comment was from a privileged position in Europe, France. I agree with Tim. Anytime we agree with Tim. At the moment, I heavily advise people have a company to their name and have business to business contracts in order to declare. An agency selling a service and sending someone over is the best we can do, and I advise it for staffing in all countries. I think that is a fine idea. Okay. It is a fine idea to become actually an independent contractor. Keep in mind that this is complicated and there are a variety of tests for independent contractor status in different states in the United States and for the United States overall. And you've got to meet both if you're coming here. And not everyone is super fluent about this, the law around this. And I have no idea how that interaction works in Europe anyway. No, it's not a magic bullet. However, it can work. It particularly in my experience as a TO, it works particularly well for Canadians. There is a carve out of NAFTA, which was then updated under the first Trump administration, whose name I don't remember anymore, where for small amounts of work, contractors can move across the border fairly easily. It's worth you doing some time and looking up, and also for that matter, looking up and sharing that with other judges, right? Or other Canadian judges would be super helpful. But my recollection is that if you're making under a certain threshold of income, you can do X number of projects within the United States. But then the next part is you have to actually meet the test of independent contractor status. And the person who shows up with all of the gear and runs the tournament for the TO probably does. And the person who shows up at a specific time and wears somebody else's uniform might not. So know that it's complicated. Okay.
Alrighty. You have anything else you want to add? I'm going to ask Chad if they have any other questions. Anything they want us to discuss. We've been going for a little bit, but we can
No, no,
always
no,
talk
no.
some
Hold
more.
on. Chat over here, Decan, whatever however I'm supposed to say that. You are extremely helpful. I I want people to know it is absolutely a good idea to investigate, and and you don't have to be a lawyer to investigate this, but you really do need to get advice from somebody who is competent. And in your country, that may or may not, that might vary some, right? But the key part is find out what's going on, find out and know you're a professional now. To meet independent contractor status in different states of the U.S. is going to be different. You may want to be working for different TOs. You may want to do different games, which I recommend you do anyway. Okay. I strongly recommend you look at working multiple games and multiple TOs and get get as much experience as you can. So there.
Fantastic.
And having a company also helps Americans for tax reasons, and it absolutely can, including there are a number of creative things one can do with one's expenses, and because if you have a business, many of the related expenses are in fact business expenses, but you really do want a tax advisor to help walk you through that. God, I hope we weren't too legalistic on this call today and been too much of talk to a lawyer.
I think we were pretty good, but it seems like we don't have any other questions coming in. So I think
So,
that about wraps us up, unless you have
yeah,
something you want to add.
take a look tomorrow. We'll have a new form up to buy the last of those kits. McFerguson wrote, not sure if it got missed earlier, didn't have an answer right now. Is it going to be a policy update addressing playing and helping with judge calls at the same time? I'm not aware of a policy update around that coming down.
And we
And
aren't
if it
able
was,
to talk about policy
oh
updates
wait,
until
and we couldn't
policy
talk about
updates
it.
exist.
I was aware. I mean,
Uh,
I totally am aware. No, oops, I fucked that one up. Okay, go ahead, Jonah.
so yeah, like, can't answer that question meaningfully.
Oh, but we can answer David Lima P's. Any updates on the content creator? And so that the two positions that are coming up. So first, we're gonna. I'm hoping in the next 24 hours we are scheduling interviews. Maybe it's 48, but very quickly we're scheduling interviews for the graphic, which is a content creator position. So we'll have all of my goal is, if at all possible, to have all the translator interviews, which we're going to have 2 more done by the end of this week. Hopefully we can get the content creator applicants handled this week as well. Maybe next week,
I
we'll
think
see.
this week we can
Maybe. It
encourage them
depends
to
on
respond
availability.
quickly.
My week is really heavy, so we'll see what happens. But then it's the first week of school for my kids and blah blah blah. So we'll don't have children; it slows down your work.
And
So what?
subject matter expert will take a little bit longer.
Actually, my priority is subject matter expert. I mean, if I had to guess, probably interviews in 3 weeks. Like there's a lot of people to interview there for. I mean, the subject matter expert is the position that everybody wanted, and
Roughly how
we
many applicants did we get?
got at this
Just
point
overall.
more than 50, less than 100. So that's one of those like range
It's
things.
a pretty significant number, though.
And Jonah correctly pointed out that we should interview everybody and give everybody a chance. That doesn't mean everybody gets hired, right? Note his earlier comment about judge program being unfair. But we are decidedly focused on qualifications, and we are trying to talk, and we're going to talk with everybody We're going to talk with everybody.
We
That's our problem.
already know some of you, but we want to know all of you who are interested.
And and because there are many aspects of this that are unfair, we're trying to make our process, and I mean judging is in many ways is unfair, right? It's hard to maintain boundaries. There's just you're a player, you're a judge, sometimes you're a TO, you're also a scorekeeper, you're working for different organizations, sometimes they have conflicting goals. It can be a mess, right? We want to be fair where we can, and Jonah probably in accuracy, Jonah probably cares about this even more than I do. I think it's fair to say.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. And 52 employees starting for Cascade next weekend. Absolutely. You can help me clean the office. That'll be great.
Fantastic.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And I really appreciate the comments. The more I engage, the I mean, it just makes it richer. So thank you.
Yeah, this has been great, as always. Thank you all so much, and we'll let you know whenever our next broadcast is. Have a good one.